Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing an update of everything we did for the month of January for my daughter's 5th grade homeschool, in addition to some additional plans that I've added for the month of February. If you're new to my channel, I'm a homeschooling mom with 2 kids at home. I have a daughter who's 10 and in 5th grade, and my son is 4 and just currently hanging out. All right, so in addition to the update that I'm doing for my daughter, I'm also going to be talking about things I'm adding to February. Now, I know I already have 2 videos out on this subject. One is on Black History Month. Another one is unit studies that we're doing for Groundhog Day, Valentine's Day, and President's Day. This is additional materials that we're doing for Black History Month. I have a lot more than I thought, so let's get started. All right, let's start with math. We began level 5A for primary mathematics standard edition. We do this in conjunction with Wisdom Wonder Project. I finally finished my review of level 4 and the Wisdom Wonder Project video subscription. That should be up here pretty soon for you guys. But this really has amped up for my daughter. The videos, for one thing, have gone from about 12 minutes on average to about 20, which is appropriate because the level of complexity has definitely gone up for this. So it is taking my daughter a little bit more time than normal, but I feel like every grade she goes up, that's kind of going to happen now as it just gets harder and harder. So the next thing with math is times tables. Those are so important, and my daughter is still struggling with those. And in level 5, it's more important than ever for her to really know not only her multiplication, but her division facts. And I feel like if she doesn't have her multiplication facts, then the division won't come as easily. So we were doing 100 days of time tests, and she got to a point where she just refused to do this. So we put it to the side and we stopped for a while. However, I told her we were going to need to find another program, and surprisingly, she was completely willing to do a new program, and it's pretty much identical to this book. A little different, but not much. So it goes to show you that if your child doesn't want to do something, just do something that has a different cover on it, and they may be fine doing it. Sometimes I think they just need to switch things out. So on Teacher Pay Teachers, under a store name Super Smart Downloads, I think it was $3.97, I found this Mastering Times Tables program. Now, this goes from 0 to 12. I did not print out 0, 1, or 2. This is really simple, but I feel like very effective. It does have a few different components than this book did. So let's give you 5 for an example. So it begins with having several pages where you're just timesing 5 by 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then the next page, they'll add in 5 times 5 spread throughout. Then the next page, they'll add in 5 times 6. The next one, they'll add in 5 times 7. The next one, 5 times 8, 5 times 9. And then they add 10 and 11 together. And then they do 5 times 12. And so it's mixed with all of these, but you're just continually, slowly adding in the problems. So by the time you're done, you've spent a good 2 weeks on one number, and you're timing yourself. She has a message where she speaks to the child and challenges them to get the best score that they can. So we time her. She does it. She likes it. I think it's because it's really easy right now because we started at the 3s, but she's progressing. She's getting faster. And I like that it slowly incorporates higher numbers, because I think for my daughter, it just feels simpler and more attainable at that slower progression. So my daughter has really been liking that. To support that, this morning, I actually forgot to bring it out. And she was like, "Oh, Mom, you better go get the multiplication tables." Whoa, I never thought that would happen. So this has been going good. So let's move on to science. We have 1 day left of weather and water. This is our second unit that we've done with the good and the beautiful. I would say this is not my favorite unit out of the 2. I feel like some things in here are a little young and some things were a little too advanced for my 5th grader. I will give a more thorough review on all the units that I'm doing this year, but altogether, I would say this has been okay. The next unit that we're moving on to is the bird unit. I have got so many different resources to go with this, and as you can tell, there are quite a bit more pages than the weather and water one. My daughter's been wanting to do this for a long time, but I wanted to wait until the spring when all the birds were back. I will be doing a video of everything I chose to use for our bird unit in additional to the Good and the Beautiful. We've got some games, we've got additional resources, we've got additional books. So be on the lookout on that if that's something you're interested in. All right, so for grammar, we finished quarter 2. If you don't know, Beowulf grammar is split up into 4 quarters, although quarter 4 is a little short. It's 3 weeks shy of what a normal quarter would be because Beowulf's grammar is technically a 33-week period if you're doing grammar 4 to 5 days a week. Now, we have started level 5, and the only reason that this one is thicker than the other is I forgot to double side. We are going to finish this year, you guys. I did not think that we would. So I'm definitely going to have to be on the lookout for some grammar programs for next year because that was not on my radar. The next thing that I want to talk about is spelling. My daughter finished part 1 of Spelling UC level F. This program goes up to level G. And she needed a change of pace. There's a lot of things I like about this program, but my daughter was getting a little bit of fatigue. The passages were longer. There was a lot more chunking to do. You were using several different colors. And by the time she was done doing this, she was kind of tired and not really wanting to write in any other subject. So I told her we would take a break. I always think switching things up is important. That doesn't mean we're done with this. I still have part 2. She could do that in 5th grade. She could do that in 6th grade. So we're taking a temporary break. And what we're doing is something that we did last year. That is the Modern Speller Book 2. This is free online, I think on archive.org, or you can buy a printed version for $10 on Amazon. We got this from Beowulf Grammar's Language Arts program that we did for a little bit during her 4th grade year. Now, what this is it's so simple. It's broken down into 1st year, 2nd year, 3rd year, all the way up to 6th year. I don't know if it goes up higher, I'll have to check. But it's split between the first half of the year and second half. So right here it says 5th year, second half. So what it is you just have a passage, which is a famous quote usually. And the first day they'll do the copy work, and the second day they'll dictate it. So what my daughter has mentioned that she really likes about this program is that the more difficult words are broken up in a way that it makes it easier for her to remember in her mind when she's studying for the dictation. What I like about this program is that this was created in 1920. Therefore, a lot of the words used in here are ones that my daughter hasn't heard of, that aren't used in more modern English. They're older words. They're more complex words. I feel like compared to Spelling UC, these are shorter passages with a wider range of complex words that really gives you the most bang for your buck. Now, this doesn't have chunking. I feel like the chunking in this really is helpful. They're great resources. But for right now, we're just going to be trying this out for a little bit. All right, Mosdos, we finally finished level 4. I feel like this took us forever. It only took us a year. It is 36 weeks. There is a lot involved. If you do want to know more about this, I do have a thorough review and flip through of this curriculum. So we are now on Choral, which is level 5. Now, if you've been around for a while, you know my daughter is a younger 5th grader, 6 weeks from the cutoff. So I kind of consider her in my mind starting the next grade in January. I obviously place her where she is, higher, lower, wherever she fits on the spectrum, that's where I'm going to be placing her. Besides her being a young 5th grader, I have heard that Mosdos can be a year ahead academically. So I do feel like this fits perfectly. The difference between the Choral version and the Ruby version, which is 4th grade, is that there's no more Jill's journal included. So if that's something your child likes, you will not find that in here. Otherwise, I feel like it's pretty much just the same. The next thing I want to talk about is our Martin Luther King unit that we did. I have a video talking about this, but I used a curriculum by the Incredible Folks. They're on Etsy, as well as Who Was Martin Luther King Jr.'s unit from the Waldock Way. I combined these two, and the combination was dynamite, you guys. That level of depth that our discussions got, the level of understanding that my daughter was able to reach was mind-blowing, amazing. Probably the best experiences that we have ever had in homeschool. They're such heavy topics, but it was so amazing to be able to see where her mind was going and her being able to really see the world in a different light and to have a real appreciation for where people had come from, for where people are today, and for how much more needs to happen in the future. It was just amazing, you guys. And it inspired me to take books with heavy topics and to delve deep with my daughter more and have these discussions and have these learning. And it may change the way that I do literature going forward. But we were going to be reading Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry as a read aloud for Black History Month. And we started that about 1 week before January ended because we were done with Martin Luther King and I didn't want to lose momentum. So I went online and I found 2 free unit studies, and I'll link them below for you, that were amazing. Now, these aren't just your traditional unit studies. I have not done book studies in the past because I don't want surface level questions. I want deep, introspective questions that require critical thinking. It requires them to apply it to their life, put themselves in the situation. I want to get down to the nitty gritty. I will know that my child can comprehend something by the discussions that we're having. And I luckily found 2 free ones that were amazing. They were so much more than just questions. There were great discussion questions, but there were also great activities. So I combined them into this book. This is the cover of one of them. I promise I will remember to link these below. What I got from the 2 of them is I got discussion questions and a little additional activities for some of the chapters. And then at the end, a very thorough review of the plot, the characters, the theme, the setting, and some additional activities and writing prompts for when the book is over. Then I saw on another mom's homeschool channel, I believe she's Nicole Free and Secular Homeschool. She was using this book study guide for The Giver, and I saw they had it for Roll of Thunder, Hear Me Cry, so I ordered it on Amazon and I kept it because this gives me activities to do every chapter. So these give me a lot of questions to ask and discussions and a few additional activities, but every single time I have some sort of a language art activity that's associated with the chapter. This is a full-blown language arts curriculum. While we're doing this, I don't think we're going to be doing Mosdos. I'm not sure how long this will take us to go through the whole book, but I'm imagining probably most of February. All right, guys, let's move on to mental health. We were going to be starting It's Perfectly Normal for ages 10 and up, Changing Bodies, Growing Up, Sex, and Sexual Health. This is not the most recent version of this book. This is an older version, maybe 1 or 2 versions old, just to let you know. I would definitely check out each version, adds more and more things to make sure you're comfortable with whatever is included. I just got this at a used bookstore, so this is fine for us. However, my daughter informed me that she did not want to do this book. We have gone over quite a few of these subjects, mainly because of playground talk at public school in 2nd and 3rd grade. She had a lot of questions. There was a lot of things that had to be answered. So these aren't new topics to her, but she wasn't quite comfortable delving into where we were going to be going. So I was like, fine, we'll just put this aside. There's no race to get this done. There's nothing that said it has to be done right now or ever, if that's what it comes to. So instead, I got a book called Hey Girl, a mindful coming of age journal for girls. This book is meant to help kids build confidence while going over continuing topics of changes that they're experiencing, going through puberty. My daughter has already read a few books similar to this, as you may know if you've been watching this channel. However, for example, maybe some of the topics in the last book weren't applicable to her and she couldn't relate to them because she wasn't currently going through those symptoms of puberty. However, now she may be experiencing new things and it's being brought up again, and now she's able to relate to it. So I don't feel like there is such thing as reading too many books talking about your period, talking about body change, talking about consent, talking about having confidence even when you look differently, even though you feel differently. I just feel like these types of books are so important for kids because it explains to them what's going on in their body, lets them know that it's okay and that it's totally normal. All right, guys. I'm going to go on to geography. I posted a world geography video recently and I got so much good feedback from that and also some previous videos as well. And I should have done a potential world geography and let everyone give me recommendations because I did add several things to my world geography curriculum. So one thing that I added for my daughter was a coloring book. And you may think, why do you need a coloring book for a 10-and-a-half-year-old? Well, in the Martin Luther King unit, I noticed that my daughter was able to comprehend and digest a lot more serious and complex topics while she was coloring. So she would just be coloring one of these several coloring pages that was provided in this student notebook for the Incredible Folks curriculum. And it worked really, really well. So I went through and I found several different coloring book pages for a few dollars from Etsy, and I can link them down below. And what I got was, I got a landmarks one, I got a polar region one for Antarctica, I got some more for Greenland, I got some more for when we're doing Canada. And this has been a really nice addition. So it can be something even as simple as this, just something really cute and easy to color while she's listening. Then I got some additional coloring pages that look like this. They have the country name, they have a map of it, their flag, and several things related to that country. I got the whole packet, so I have it for around the world. Then I got famous landmarks around the world, which I really liked as well. And here's some more coloring pages. So she's got a pretty full book. This is only for the polar regions, Greenland, and Canada, because that's all we'll be finishing for this year. But next year, when I'm putting together those countries, I will most definitely be including coloring pages. I could already tell today during our reading that she retained a lot more because she was coloring. And what we read today was kind of lengthy, and normally she wouldn't have been able to sit there and listen to it all, but she did just fine coloring. All right, so another suggestion was to look at the Little School of Smith's blog. I love the Little School of Smiths. I follow her on Instagram. I fully plan on using her science and history curriculum for my son when he's in kindergarten, maybe first and second grade. I love her style so much. She also does American Girl history, which I wish I had known sooner with my daughter. Anyhow, on her blog, she talks about how she uses this exact journal for each of her kids to draw a map of each country that they're going into, which I thought was amazing. And she uses this big old honking book, Maps. I feel like I did not have this component in my curriculum. I had putting a flag on a passport. I had putting a tack on our world map of where we were visiting. She would look at the maps, but never draw them. Put in the rivers, put in the mountains where they go. So let me show you a picture. This is Finland. I don't even know if it's all gonna go into frame, but these are huge pictures of the countries. Here's Poland. And this book is massive. I mean, look at my head. It's huge, huge. I love it. And she did already the Arctic. She did the Arctic Ocean, and she did all the surrounding countries. And this, I feel like, is so genius, because now my daughter knows where the Arctic Circle is, has a better understanding of where they all are, because she's actually had to draw it and write it versus just looking at a map. So that is something that we definitely added. There was one more thing I added, and that was also something I saw from the Little School of Smith's blog, and that was the Animal Atlas. Now, I already have an Animal Atlas, as I showed in that World Geography video, and I did like it, and I did mention it could be considered a little young at some point because it's more cartoony. Sometimes it has pictures that look more real, but then at other times you have more cartoony looking maps. I really did like this, and I still like it, and I'm past the return window, so I'm going to keep it. However, I got this book from the library, and in it is kind of similar, only it goes a little deeper, a little more information, and shows more realistic looking pictures for the regions that you're going in. And I thought that having both would be just fine, because I do like the additional facts for the animals, but I also like a lot of things that this atlas brings that this one doesn't have. So I figure I'll be using it for my son. This will help as my daughter grows and maybe grows out of this in the next few years, and this would be more appropriate. So that's another book. What's wrong with having two? So one of the last things I want to talk about is reading. The only read aloud we did this month was Who Was Martin Luther King Jr.? And you guys, honestly, it's because we play board games every night. I'm going to be honest. We played them before, but now we literally play them almost every single day. I think maybe one day a week we don't, if it's been a crazy day and I just need to go to bed. But as soon as my son goes to bed around 7, we'll play board games, and then my daughter will go to bed. So by the time she goes to bed, she needs to go to bed. So there's not that 15-minute to 30-minute window for us to read. I do miss it, but we've all agreed that playing board games together is much more fun, and we'd much rather be doing that than a read aloud. However, I feel like I found a way to get around that by incorporating these heavy topic books into our curriculum and discussing them during the day. I'm able to still have read alouds in a way that's really fun and is also maybe almost more age appropriate. Like my daughter has a lot of books that she really likes to read. She's reading Keeper of the Lost Cities series. She finished book 3, which was over 600 pages, and she's now on to book 4 and is already, I think, a third of the way through that. So she likes to read a lot of her own books on her own time. And lately, every book that we've tried to read, she just hasn't been that into. So I feel like incorporating books like Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry into a literature study into our day is a good way for me to keep up those read alouds. The last thing that I want to talk about is my daughter started acro this month. It's a combination of gymnastics and dance. She did do gymnastics for a few years. A few of her friends do it, so she really wanted to try it out, and she is really liking that. All right, guys, I hope this video wasn't too long. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.